Hey guys, Mindy Browse here for the Integrated Co-op. This is a teacher training video for the grammar program in the morning. So the K2 and 3-6 teachers, this is for you, okay? So, of course, I'm going to go over a bunch of things, and this video is going to be useful for you throughout the year, but especially in the beginning. But anytime you feel like you need a refresher on our focus and our mindsets and what we're really trying to do, just watch this video again, okay? So, you're going to need the lesson plans, obviously. All right, but I'm going to go over first a few things that are about mindset and philosophy and focus, okay? So first, I want to remind us that we are a Charlotte Mason combined with a classical education co-op. So what that means is we're taking the best of both worlds, all right? So I want us to remember that and not be pushing for a super rigorous time. Grammar is about learning, about appreciating the love for learning, about discovery, conversation, engagement. Okay, so remember they're kids, they're little kids. The K2, the K2, remember they're so young. All right, so we're not going to be shoving things down their throat. We're going to be introducing and discussing and having a really nice, gentle time together for our Charlotte Mason focus at that age group. For the classical, we're going to make sure we bring up the memory work. We're going to make sure we show the connections between the subjects and help them see that. We're going to remind them that God is in all of it and that his design is there, and his plan for mankind, who he created, and all the people groups that he made in his image. Remember to take breaks as you need to, okay? Each subject will have reach focus. We'll just call them subjects to keep it easier, okay? We'll just call, okay, our time periods. You know what I mean, okay? So we have read aloud, we have hands-on history and history, we have discovery, we have fine arts, and we have public speaking, okay? So those are all in here, and then you also have the memory work, right? So that is 3 hours of class time and 30 minutes for each focus. But I want us to remember that these are kids, okay? And the research shows that their age +1 is the amount of focused time they can give us academically. So if that means you talk about and introduce something and you start to see their eyes are glazing over and you need to take a quick break and sing a song or do something silly or draw for a minute while they take a mental break, that's okay, all right? This is not a private school. This is a co-op that is walking alongside the parents in their subjects. We want to help the parents, all right? But we want the kids to have a good time. We want them to remember learning is fun. Okay, so if you need to take a potty break or go wash hands or whatever, that's okay. 30 minutes for sometimes is going to go like that, and other times it's going to be long. And that's just the nature of the situation. And I'll give you tips, and we'll talk as a team also about other things you can do, all right? But the main thing we're focusing on is showing these kids that everything is integrated. All of our subjects are integrated through God's plan and his design, and just naturally. Science affects history. History affects science. Like, all of this is interwoven. The books written during that time were affected by what was going on. Okay, so remember to have fun with the kids, all right? Classroom management is key. And if you need help with that, please let me know at team meetings. But you will each develop your own little system, okay? The thing that we're committed to, though, is not giving food as a reward for behavior for a lot of different reasons, but that's just something we're not going to do. All right, so I'm going to go through each subject time. Discovery, all right? We're calling it discovery because we're focusing on the discoveries made during the time period we're studying. So each year, it has a different focus of a time period. So during that time, we're going to learn about a person who made a discovery and what that discovery is. It is in the Berean Builders text. If you own that, if you do not, let me know and we'll make sure you have the information. So you're going to talk about the person, you're going to introduce, you're going to read with them, and then you're going to do the hands-on activity, okay? These are not necessarily experiments, okay? Experiments and hands-on science activities are totally different things. And so let's not use the term experiment so that kids are not misled about what an experiment is. That has a really big effect on them when they have to start preparing for science fairs and they get into their older subjects. So let's call it a science activity or science fun. So make sure you introduce the person, you read, you do the activity. Before you start the activity, you can line up the items and say, what do you think we're going to learn? What do you think is going to happen? What are we going to do with these things? And one of my biggest tips for teachers is to be okay with pauses. Students these days are taught to be asked a question, there's a little bit of time to wait, and then the teacher tells them the answer. And so what happens is kids are not comfortable thinking on their own. They're just comfortable waiting for the information. So tell your class, I'm going to let you think, and then I want to hear your ideas. And don't fill the space with your ideas, okay? Let them give ideas, give positive reinforcement every time somebody shares something, okay? And so then you'll do the activity. Then you'll have a journal for each student, and I would like you to have them, we would like you to have them draw what happened, draw what they remember, talk about that. We're calling a narration journal. And so every time they do something, we want them to then narrate it in their journal. This is a way to help cement what they've learned. It's a way for them to express what they've learned. And it's a big part of the Charlotte Mason education. Okay, so that's discovery. The other part of discovery is ask them about their nature study this past week. Nature study is a Charlotte Mason activity that we want to encourage families to do, to be outside in nature, observing, just sitting, drawing what they see, taking in what they see, and expressing it. So ask them about their nature study at home. All right, let's move on to read aloud. Okay, so everyone will be reading the same read aloud. The chapters are assigned in lesson plans, and then I have chosen activities for you. There will be specific links for you with each game or activity. I'm going to go ahead and make weekly videos for each of those. Any hands-on activities that you might need help with, I'll make weekly videos for those. But the important part of read aloud is to engage them with reading. So ask them, what happened? Tell me who's in the story. Let them think, let them bounce those ideas and encourage each other. What happened this week? What do you think is going to happen next? How did you feel when? And ask them about a part of the book. Obviously, you're going to have to be reading this book along with your student or students at home to make this part enjoyable. And to make sure the activities I've chosen make sense, okay? But the focus of this is to just foster a love for reading and stories. So just make the most of that time. Again, you can have them narrate. After you're done with everything during the read aloud component, you can have them in their narration journal draw or write for the 3rd through 6th if they want, what you talked about, what's going on in the book. All right, hands-on history, very similar. You're going to be reading that chapter with the students. So the first thing for the 3-6, I would start off with, tell me what you remember from your history reading this past week. And write some names on the boards, maybe some events. For the K2, I might read some paragraphs to get them started. And then say, what else do you remember? Ooh, where were we in that? What's going on? Okay. And then you'll have the hands-on activity. And make sure you connect whatever the hands-on activity is, whether it's a game or a food or a craft of some kind, connect it to the history for the week. Regarding food, so we have a bunch of food things that we'll be doing for different components. Sometimes it's hands-on history, sometimes it's read aloud, sometimes it's both. And that will be prepared for you. If you're making in class, like one day we'll make butter for year 3, you will have the cream in a jar and instructions on what to do, and you will make that. We'll make hagelslag, I think that's how you say it. I think that's week 2 in year 3. And that's just going to be a piece of bread with butter and chocolate sprinkles. Yum, okay? So I'm not going to be asking you to make anything like gingerbread in class. Will we have gingerbread one time? Yes, but we will have that made for you, okay? When it comes to the food, just be cognizant of the amount and how much each student you realize should get so that everybody's, enjoying it. But make sure they taste it. Ask them what they think about it. How do they feel about this food? Is this something you would like to eat more often? And then, of course, make sure you make the connection to the story or the history for them, okay? All right, fine arts. Fine arts is planned. I have sent you a document that has the whole plan. Sometimes we'll have poetry. With the younger kids, we won't be expecting them to read that. You'll be reading that to them. For the older kids, they'll have a copy of that in the basket that I provide each day for the parts of the program that we rotate through. So when it comes to fine arts, it might be just a little bit of a step outside your comfort zone, and that's okay. It is for them too, okay? Sometimes it's going to be art, and we're going to make something. Sometimes it's going to be a song, and we're going to listen a few times, and then we're going to sing it. Sometimes it'll be a poem, and you will read it, or you will have them maybe read it aloud. Be aware of which students have some reading struggles, and we don't want to ask them to read aloud in front of the class. But again, fun, fun, fun. Fun and the connection to history. Why are we learning about a Algonquin water song? Why would we study this? So just make it fun, okay? And then again, narration journal at the end. Okay, memory work. As far as the memory work goes, you will be introducing this memory work. You will not be quizzing them on what they remember. We will not be making sure they learn it. We are introducing the memory work for the parents and family to do at home. We have a parent who is creating and has created songs for our history that you can purchase from him if you'd like. The main thing is to say the memory work 7 times in class for each component. And because there are 7 components of our memory work, you're going to make sure you do that quickly, okay? Not so quickly that they don't understand what you're saying, okay? But you can play the song, you can say it, you can have a student say it. Each time they hear it, a full version of it once, that counts as 1 time, okay? We are not necessarily explaining it all, but I do want you to tie it to what we're learning. So if you want to make sure when we do the history, you see what the memory work is, so you talk about that part in class, right? Same thing for science. When you do discovery, make sure you mention or you refer back to discovery when you do the science memory work. I bought each of you a board, a trifold board, that I will tape on clear page protectors for you to write out the memory work for each week and slide it in the page protectors, or you can print it out. If you want to print it out, that's fine too. And if you do that at the beginning of the year, you go ahead and do the whole year's worth of memory work. You have it, when I was teaching or tutoring, I would clip them together with little tiny clamps, I forget they're called. Anyway, I would do that so that I had them all ready, and I kept it in my bin, my teacher bin, so I just pull it out. And the reason you can do that, and the reason it helps, is you can see the students can see you go through each subject of the memory work. Another way it helps is if you have that up all during class, when you do discovery, you can point to it. When you do history, you can point to it. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, we have a catechism component in our memory work. This is not a time to ask each student if they know God or Christ, if they have come. This is not what we're doing. We're introducing the memory work, because it's a part of learning the faith, the Christian faith, the Protestant Christian faith. But this is not a time to interrogate or seek personal proof of any kind. Okay, that's what the parents to do. If a student wants to share about his faith, we encourage that. That's totally great, okay? And you can share your faith, of course. Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry. We learn history, discovery, fine arts. Oh, public speaking. Okay, public speaking is a wonderful time for kids to express themselves, become comfortable talking in front of others. For the Grammar 36, we want for you to choose each week a different focus for the skill, whether it be eye contact or projecting their voice or holding still and not fidgeting while they're in front of the group. We also want to train the students, teach the students, instruct the students, and encourage the students to be a good audience member, which means opening their snack before someone starts, sitting quietly and looking at the person while they speak, giving them our attention. We also will be encouraging you to develop a skill of asking really good questions at the end, but not sharing their own story. You know what it's like to go to a public event where a speaker is speaking and they have a Q&A and then somebody gets up and just shares their story. Not okay. Q&A is Q&A, it's not story time. So something that I've seen done before a student calls on one. So let's say Stacy just gave a presentation. I have my hand up for a question, and Stacy says, Mindy, do you have a question? And then I say yes, and then I ask my question, okay? So K2, this will be gradual, okay? We do not expect them to do this immediately well. It's about getting comfortable with it. The reason we do this in the grammar stage in a classical model is because when the content really matters in middle school and high school, they will have already memorized how to give the presentation, how to public speak. I grew up, you probably too, had to learn how to give a speech in middle and high school when you were like your most awkward. You have to learn how to give a good speech, and then the content also really mattered. So those are two different skills. So we're gonna do it from the beginning and really encourage it. This is a time where you will have snack. Every child will bring a snack and a water or a container of a drink. And it's just a really chill time to do all that, okay? So those are the components. You don't need to do a narration journal after public speaking unless you need something to fill time and you want to. But the rest, and memory work either necessarily, but again, that's up to you. Memory work is probably gonna be the one that goes by really quickly, okay? Again, if you play guitar and you want to sing to certain things, great. Because we're such a new program, we only have some of the memory work by one of the dads in the program, and we hope to be expanding that. But overall, just remember to have fun, engage with these students, build these relationships, show them God's love through relationships, and have a really good time learning together, okay? I will have a basket with all the items in it for a day's worth of classes that we will rotate and share, okay? So like, for example, I will have a basket for discovery, and I have all the items in it for all 4 classes or however many classes we have. After you're done, you will have a parent or an older child, if possible, maybe, bring that basket to the next class that needs it, okay? You will have a schedule so you'll know who gets it when. But we'll do that for hands-on history, read aloud, fine arts, and discovery, okay? All right, guys, go ahead and watch this again if you need to. The main thing is you're gonna be having fun. You have the material for the memory work in here. Again, you can put it on your board just to help the students see it and say it together because they probably won't be bringing this. And just remember that K2 and 3-6 have different memory work. So, okay, the main thing, let's see, have I said the main thing? Yes, relationships. Relationships build a love of learning, a love of reading, and appreciation for community, okay? All right, guys, thanks.